Today we're talking about Roth IRAs, helping you clear up confusion and make sense of the rules. Hi, I'm Molly Nelson here with Loren Merkle and Clint Huntrods. They're both certified financial fiduciaries. Loren is also a certified financial planner and Clint has a PhD. Loren, we talk about Roth IRAs, Roth accounts, and Roth conversions a lot on this show because for some people they are a very important strategy within their retirement plan.
Because most people who are looking to retire have a lot of their retirement savings in pre-tax retirement accounts, which means when they take money out of those accounts to live on, they will have to pay tax on that income at their ordinary income tax bracket. And then enters the Roth. The Roth IRA, the money goes in after tax, but when you take it out, all of the earnings, as long as it's a qualified distribution, comes tax-free. And these are newer investment vehicles. They've only been around for a couple decades. They started in 1998, whereas in the traditional IRAs and traditional 401k plans have been around for much, much longer. So they're kind of newer on the scene. Not a lot of pre-retirees have been able to contribute a lot of money to them. So now you're on the doorsteps of retiring. You're trying to figure out how to minimize the amount of retirement taxes you're going to have to pay. The Roth IRA can be really powerful if you use it the right way.
And if you understand the rules or work with someone who does. So we want to talk about some of the rules today to help you make a more informed decision about your retirement. Let's talk about the 2025 rules with Roth IRAs.
Yeah, if you're looking to make a contribution and you're under the age of 50, you can put up to a max of $7,000 per year in direct contributions to your Roth IRA. If you're older than 50, then you have a $1,000 catch-up, so you can actually put up to $8,000 per year to fund that Roth IRA.
But these contributions can only be made if you're within make a certain income, right, Loren?
Yes, that income, and it varies if you're single versus married. If you're married, a married couple, if their modified adjusted gross income is below $230,000, they can contribute that full $7,000 to $8,000. And then it gets phased out between the income of $230,000 and $240,000. And then if your MAGI, modified adjusted gross income, exceeds $240,000, you cannot contribute to the Roth.
And of course, the rules are even different if you're single.
Yeah, if you're single and you're making below $146,000 of modified adjusted gross income, as Loren mentioned, then you can contribute that full amount. If it starts to phase out, and so once you get to $161,000 or more, then you are phased out from a salary standpoint. You can't make a contribution to a Roth IRA.
And those numbers change each year, so that's why we wanted to give the 2025 numbers. But another rule that you guys get a lot of questions about, and there's a lot of confusion about with these Roth accounts, is the 5-year rule. And Clint, you are here to help us make it very crystal clear for everyone.
I am. It is sometimes hard to follow, so we're going to walk through a few examples that helps to illustrate some of the 5-year rules that are in play when it comes to how long you've had your Roth IRA open. So what we'll look at for this example is there's an individual who has a Roth IRA, current balance of $30,000. Now, not every dollar is equal there. We're going to show in this particular example that this family has made $20,000 worth of contributions, and then $10,000 of that account is earnings or growth that they've had since they've made those contributions. And again, that adds up to the $30,000 total balance in this individual's Roth IRA. Now, if they wanted to get at that full amount, if the individual said, hey, I want to take all $30,000 out, and they are above 59.5, and their Roth IRA has been established for longer than 5 years or longer, then they can take the entire $30,000 out, all the growth and all of their contributions without any sort of penalty or any sort of taxation. And so that's a particular case for someone who's 59.5 or older, and they have satisfied that 5-year rule for Roth IRA and how long that has been open. Look at this example. If the individual is 59.5, so they've checked that box, but their Roth IRA has not been open for 5 years, well, then now they start to have a different outlook. They can always get their contributions back without any sort of tax or penalty, but what they would find is that there will be taxation at their earned income rate on the growth that has occurred in their account since they've made those contributions. And in this particular case, it's an individual who is 59.5, but their Roth IRA has not satisfied the 5-year rule for how long it's been in existence. Last example, this is an individual who is less than 59.5, and their Roth IRA has not satisfied the 5-year rule. It has not been open for a full 5 years. In this particular case, if this individual came to us and they said, hey, I want to take my entire balance out, well, they'd have a really interesting situation. They would find that their growth in their account would be taxed, and they would also be facing a 10% penalty, which is really an early distribution penalty. So they can always get their contributions, the $20,000 back, but the growth would be taxed, and they would have a penalty on that if they have not satisfied the 5-year rule and they are less than 59.5. So this just gets to that importance of, we know Roth IRAs are important, but we also need to have a larger plan in mind as to what they're doing, and then when they might want to be taking some of these dollars out.
Those rules are really important to understand, and I think it's important to understand the two main criteria. One is has the Roth IRA been open for 5 years, and the other one 59.5. Any contributions that you make to your Roth, regardless of those two criteria, your contributions you can take out at any time, not have to pay taxes, and not have to pay penalties. So what we're talking about then is the earnings. And that first criteria of, has the Roth IRA been open for 5 years, that could be any Roth IRA. So if you put $1 into a Roth IRA 10 years ago, haven't contributed since, and then this year you put $8,000 into your Roth, well, that $8,000 has met that 5-year rule because it goes back to your very first contribution. And that's an important note. But one of the most important aspects of all of this is, as you're looking to use the Roth IRA in any capacity, have the end plan in mind. Understand, here's directionally how you're going to use this Roth. Here's the time frame that you can afford to have these monies invested, to make sure that whenever you do take it out, you're not going to have that penalty or pay taxes on any of the earnings.
And I think, go ahead.
Yeah, no, another thing to note, and this is where it gets complex. It gets to the importance of working with a trusted professional to make sure you understand all the rules and how that might apply in your situation. Is a lot of families are starting to contribute to the Roth side of their 401k now. And that does not count towards that Roth IRA 5-year rule. So they could have been contributing to their Roth IRA or their Roth 401k for 5 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. That is not starting the clock on their Roth IRA 5-year rule.
And what's really interesting to me about the 5-year rule is it's not really 5 years. They don't count a year. When I say they, the government, IRS, who makes these rules, they don't count a year as 365 days. They just count it as the year that you start the account. So you could start at December 31st and you've got a year under your belt, correct?
Yeah, what they're counting is the tax year. So if your contribution, if you can count that, let's say your contribution, you can count it towards tax year 2024, even though you actually contributed to that Roth in March of 2025, well, 2024 starts, and then of course 2025 starts, but 2024 would be the first year that you can count for that. So it doesn't have to be a full 5 years from your contribution. It goes by tax years.
And they could also take it out January 1st of that 5th year. They wouldn't have to wait through the end of that calendar year.
And the 5-year rule is what we're trying to clear up for people today. Do you guys find that when you're talking to people in the kind of those first visits or those 15-minute phone calls, that the 5-year rule is part of the reason that they're a little leery about Roth accounts in general?
What we find in our experience is most people are not familiar with the 5-year rule, or even if they've heard of the 5-year rule, it's often misapplied to their particular situation. And that's why it's so important for us to understand how those 5-year rules apply, and then make sure those contributions are going in the right way. And we really have a plan in mind of, here's how we're going to use it down the road. Here's how it's really going to benefit you in your overall retirement plan, to make sure that people are not paying that 10% penalty or taxes on earnings, because that completely deflates the benefits of using the Roth IRA.
And I think this is exactly why you don't want to plan for retirement necessarily a year before you're going to retire, or 2 years. Really, you need to start 5 to 10 years before retirement, because then you can really make the most of some of these kinds of strategies.
Yeah, and like Loren mentioned, I mean, even if you're just putting a dollar in and getting that clock started, you just want to be thinking down the road. And that's something that many times we're talking with families for the first time, they've not always thought of a longer term plan. They've just kind of thought, this year, what do I do? They haven't been thinking 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 or 30 years out, which is what we do as retirement planners, because we know how important that is. And then those longer term information we see in your plan can give us more insight on what we should be doing this year on some of those short term decisions that are in front of us.
Yeah, and the more time you have on your side, the easier it is to accumulate wealth, because you have more time to allow your account values, your account balances to compound. And the only thing better than compounding compounding growth is tax-free compounding growth. And that is where the Roth IRA and the benefits of really come into play.
So you heard Clint and Loren say it, the road to retirement, it's a journey. It starts early. It starts before retirement. The best way to see how you can get started right now is our online Journey to Retirement workshop. This will show you what planning now for retirement can do to maximize the money that you've worked so hard to save. You can sign up for our complimentary Journey to Retirement workshop right now by texting Journey to the phone number that's on your screen. We're going to answer a question that we received recently during that workshop next, and then we'll talk more about the Roth 5-year rule. It's time for your journey, your questions. This is when we answer a question we received recently during our online Journey to Retirement workshop. Matt S. had this question: can I convert from a qualified account to a Roth more than once? I'm Molly Nelson here with Loren Merkle and Clint Hunt-Rods. Loren, what would you tell Matt?
Multiple conversions. We love that strategy. In fact, we talk with the families and individuals we serve all the time about how many different Roth conversions they can do. So the simple answer is yes. You can do as many Roth conversions as you want to, as what makes sense for you based on what your plan is. So you can convert multiple times in the same tax year, or you can do multiple conversions over the course of your entire tax strategy. It doesn't matter how many conversions you do. What really matters is how much conversions you do in that particular tax year.
And you're going to tell me there are rules around this. Just like everything you do in the financial world, the IRS set some rules.
Well, I had a call with somebody, a retire-ready call. They'd been watching the TV show, and we were talking about Roth IRA contributions on the show. On the phone call, we started to discuss Roth conversions, and this particular individual said, well, I don't know why I would do that. I can only do $8,000 per year. I said, no, that's actually not the case. On a conversion, there is no limit, as you had just mentioned. That's only on direct Roth IRA contributions. You've got the $7,000 or the $8,000. On a conversion, it just needs to make sense tax-wise. As part of your tax plan, there's no limit, but you want to make sure you're not going to pay any more tax than you need to as part of your longer-term plan in any given year that you're doing a conversion.
So you can convert as much as you want to, and as many times as you want to, but you just want to be very intentional.
And this came up during the online Journey to Retirement workshop because that's exactly what John and Sue do. They use a Roth conversion as a very powerful strategy within their plan.
Yeah, and in their case, it makes sense for the longer term tax implications to get money shifted over into the Roth IRA bucket, and then it's going to be able to grow tax-free for the rest of their lifetime. If they don't spend it, which they might not, in their particular case, they leave a big legacy behind, that's actually going to pass on tax-free to their beneficiaries, which is a very efficient way to transfer assets when you pass.
It's a complimentary workshop. The phone number is on your screen. It's as simple as a text. You can get signed up. We've got more to talk about when it comes to the 5-year rule and Roth accounts next. Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm Molly Nelson here with Loren Merkle and Clint Hunt-Rods, and we're talking about the 5-year rules when it comes to Roth IRAs. There are 2 sets of rules. One, contributions. You covered that in the first segment. Now it's time, Clint, to talk about conversions.
Yeah, so let's go to the board, look at another example to help understand that a little bit better. And as we start to think about completing a Roth conversion, what we find is that begins a 5-year clock on the conversion amount, and we have to pay attention to that as we think about what we might want to do for distributions from our Roth IRA. In this example, we're looking at a $50,000 Roth IRA, of which $40,000 has been converted into this, and there has been growth received on the conversion amount of $10,000. The 40 and the 10 adds up to the $50,000 Roth IRA for this individual. Now, if this individual came to us and they said, hey, I want to take the entire $50,000 out and use for whatever it may be as part of their retirement lifestyle, what we would want to think about is there going to be any sort of tax or penalty? And if they are 59 and a half, even if it's been less than 5 years since they have done the Roth conversion, they still will be able to get to that full amount that they've converted, as well as any growth that they have received on that account without any sort of tax or any sort of penalty on that. So those dollars are free and clear, in large part because this family or this particular individual is 59 and a half or older, and that's the purpose of that Roth IRA, is to be utilizing those assets in retirement. There are no rules that are going to limit them. If this particular individual was in a different situation, and now their example here is that they are less than 59 and a half, and it's been less than 5 years since they have made this Roth conversion, of $40,000. We see again, they've got $40,000 that was converted. Since they've done that, they've received $10,000 of growth. If they wanted to get to that full $50,000 balance, take it all out, they need to be very intentional and make sure that that's going to be a good part of their plan, because they're actually going to receive taxation at their earned income rate on the growth that has occurred within this account since they did the conversion. And just as important, they're also going to have a 10% penalty, not just on the growth, but on the full amount that they have converted. And really, in the eyes of the IRS, they have taken a premature IRA distribution. Even though they've converted it to the Roth, they would have a penalty to take out that full $50,000. And so when we start to help families through the idea behind a Roth conversion, does it make sense or not? These are things that we want to be thinking about. When do we anticipate using these dollars, and what's the best way to do it so that you're not going to receive some sort of tax or penalty that you are not anticipating?
So I think people are probably starting to take away that we could do a 3-hour show on Roth IRAs and the rules around contributions and conversions, because there's just so much that goes into it. I would say, to kind of summarize this, there's probably 2 main things that people can do to help with all of these rules. One is start a Roth IRA soon. The sooner the better, because it gets that original 5-year rule started. And then after the 5 years that you start that Roth IRA, that's one big hurdle that you don't have to worry about anymore. So even if it's a $10, a $1 contribution to a Roth IRA, get the 5-year clock started. That can help you make these rules a little bit easier. And then the second one is, with any Roth contribution or Roth conversion, having a plan in place that is more than just your contribution or conversion plan. How's it going to impact your income plan in retirement? How's it going to impact your tax plan and your legacy plan? How's it going to impact all of those? And once you have that in place, then your confidence level on your contributions and your conversions is going to skyrocket, because you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing and how it's going to impact you short and long term. Those are probably the 2 biggest takeaways.
And one thing that we see for families, that as they're reaching retirement or they're starting to get into retirement, they start to think more about, hey, I know that I'm taken care of. I understand my proactive tax plan. I'm thinking about contributions, conversions where it makes sense. We recently had a family who they're about age 70, and now they're starting to see the impact of what required minimum distributions are going to be on their pre-tax dollars that they have saved. And one thing that they feel confident in is, let's start to help the next generation. So they actually have helped their daughter start a Roth IRA, and their daughter's son, so their grandson, who for the first time has earned income because he had a part-time job over the summer.
Yes.
And we were able to help this family start to kind of pass on that legacy and get those Roth IRAs started for those 2 individuals. And they feel so excited about doing that because they understand the power of tax-free compounding growth.
How exciting and powerful is that? Their grandson has started a Roth IRA who is going to have maybe 40, 50 years of tax-free growth on that money. That's exciting, because they're really helping, they're really implementing a multi-generational strategy that can have really long-lasting impacts.
And I'm thinking about this 5-year rule and the earned income limit. So you talk about, if you can, start a Roth IRA or start making contributions, but I'm thinking about the conversions. Does it sometimes make sense to do a small Roth conversion for people just to get their 5-year clock started?
Well, on the conversion, sometimes that's one way you can do it, is do through a conversion or a contribution. Not everybody is able to contribute because of the income rules. So if you're not able to contribute to a Roth, maybe a small conversion is one way that you can get that clock started. Absolutely.
Loren, we've talked about making contributions to your Roth IRA. We've talked about doing conversions to your Roth IRA. One thing that can be an easy take home for families who are listening at home is, have you ever researched whether your 401k allows you to contribute to the Roth side of your 401k? We've seen a lot of growth, a lot of plans moving to allow that. Could make sense for your particular situation. It might not, but it's worth knowing whether you have that option or not, and then seeing, is that a part of your overall plan to continue to save for retirement, but also get more of those dollars into that tax-free vehicle.
And is it good to start doing that as you get closer to retirement, or maybe even for those that are younger watching, consider that as well?
It's really a balance of what tax bracket you're in today. What tax brackets do you likely have available to you later in your working career? Oftentimes, as one spouse retires, that's going to change as both spouses retire if they're married. Now we start to see new tax brackets that we haven't seen for quite a few years. So it's really part of that longer term tax planning discussion is, does it make sense in context of that longer view.
I'm so glad Clint said tax brackets, because tax brackets are a lot of what you guys look at, your retirement planners that is, when you're helping people make these decisions. And John and Sue's tax bracket is part of the decision to do a Roth conversion in the workshop.
Yeah, and their tax bracket is based on the income that they have coming in, but we don't stop there with the tax bracket evaluation. We also look at what tax brackets could be like down the road, maybe a couple years down the road, but also at their required minimum distribution age, because now they're forced to take taxable income out of their IRAs, and that's going to go on top of their Social Security and pension and other income that they need. So all of that has to be considered.
Yeah, so what strategies can people do to possibly lower those RMDs later in retirement? That is part of the online Journey to Retirement workshop. It's really eye-opening. It's very entertaining, and there is a lot to learn by watching the Journey to Retirement workshop. You can sign up. It's pretty simple. It's just a text to the number that's on your screen. This is Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.